I think I can. I think I can. I'm the train that thinks I can. Choo choo, choo choo. I'm the train that knows I can. Choo choo, choo choo. Fun with History number 20 with Professor Banks. Today we are going to take a look at the first train and so many other important inventions today on this history lesson. And so welcome to Fun with History number 20, entitled I Think I Can. I Think I Can. Welcome to Fun with History number 20. Today is called I Think I Can. I Think I Can. How many people know that story as a child, the train that thinks he can? Yeah, that's what I based the lesson on. The Industrial Revolution, okay? So that's what we're going to look at today on Fun with History. And I should also add that this is our 20th lesson, and we are officially going to enter the 1900s. Wow! So we have come all the way from the Earth's beginning to the 1900s in just 20 lessons. I think we've traveled through history quite well, don't you think? So today actually is the beginning of modern age history. So welcome to modern age history. And I also want to start out by saying my apologies again for the video last week on the French Revolution, especially the quality of that special video I tried to insert into my lesson. I hope you did find the link to that video and were able to watch it okay and enjoy it and learn something out of it as well. So I hope you did find that. All you have to remember about the French Revolution, it was violent, bloody, and a lot of issues with it, two dictators, and in the end, the French finally did find peace, at least for that time. So again, my apologies again for that. This video is going to be better than last week, so we know that for sure. Okay, so the Industrial Revolution. Okay, so let us start off with the time frame that we're looking at here. So the Industrial Revolution goes from 1712 to the early 1900s. Okay, 1712 to the early 1900s. And what you need to be aware of with the Industrial Revolution is three things. Three important things as a part of the foundation of this revolution: coal, iron, and textiles. Okay, so coal, iron, and textiles. Three very important things as a part of this revolution. So let me share with you a little bit about why this happened, especially the coal part, okay? So what was going on was England had great deposits of coal right at its surface. And they didn't take long to figure out that coal is a very good heat conductor. So what happened with that coal was as a very good heat conductor, and because it was such a good heat conductor, it was able to mold and shape into a lot of different forms. So it was excellent for making a lot of things like appliances, iron tools, machines, ships, buildings, and infrastructure. Okay, so that was very key, and it started in Europe, but the effects of that went right across the world. as a result of that coal and iron. So that was very, very key. And then textiles, very important as well, because textiles were able to produce things like clothing and cotton and various things like that were very, very helpful as well. Okay? But let me share with you a bit about the Industrial Revolution when it first started, okay? So the Industrial Revolution was the beginning of factory work. That's what it was really about. Men were the major wage earner as this revolution started, and women had very limited opportunities. The wages were low for factory workers, unskilled workers were easily replaced, and bad part of this thing, children were a part of the labor force. Children, not cool. Okay, so they were used as part of the labor force, and they were used for working dangerous jobs like cleaning machinery, and they worked long hours too. So that was not cool at all. Now a little later on we're going to see that changes. You're going to see that they make some changes with those things, which is very good. But for the beginning part of the Industrial Revolution, not cool. Ixnay. Ixnay on it being good. Okay, so that is what kind of birthed the Industrial Revolution. Now what I want to do today is take you through a few different inventions, and then we're going to get to something very interesting at the end that I hope you enjoy, okay? So, let me start off with inventions, okay? So, I got some pictures for you. That's how we're going to make history fun this week, with little pictures I've got drawn. So I hope you enjoy these little pictures and able to get something out of them, okay? So the first thing I want to share with you is something called this. Okay? It's the Thomas Newcomen steam engine. Okay? Invented in 1712. It was a steam engine which pumped water out of mines. Okay? So, Thomas Newcomen, a man from Britain, developed this, and it was later modified by a couple other people. Okay, so a man came along in 1775 named James Watt, and what he did was he made it a really first truly reliable steam engine. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about him. Just bear with me here as I pull him up. Okay. So James Watt came along in 1775, and what he did on the steam engine was included a crankshaft and gears, and is the foundation for modern steam engines. And what happened as a result of James Watt making modifications to the Newcomen engine? We had something like this coming along. Choo choo, choo choo, choo 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 choo. Anybody know what that is? Yeah, choo choo train. 1804. 1804, we have our first steam-powered locomotive engine on the rails. So, very, very key. How many people here know how important trains are even today? You see freight trains go through all the time in different cities carrying things. And of course, passenger trains, very, very popular too to get to places. So, thank you, Newcomen and Watt, for setting the foundation up for that, for the first steam-powered locomotive engine for 1804. And that was a big key to the Industrial Revolution, was that steam-powered part of things. Okay, so the next part that I want to share with you here is on my little picture thing here. Okay, right here. These two things right here. Can you see those? James Hargreaves and Richard Arkwright. Okay? James Hargreaves with a cotton spinning jenny, and Richard Arkwright with the water frame. So they were both 4 years apart. Okay? And again, I'm going to share a little bit about those guys with you here too. Okay, so James Hargreaves developed the spinning jenny in 1764. This machine allowed workers to spin more wool at one time that greatly increased productivity. And it allowed the textile industry to kind of start getting up and running as a result of this cotton spinning jenny. So we had cotton. And then a little while later, a man came along by Richard Arkwright 4 years later. And what he did was he modified the machine. And so what he did was he modified it so it spun the cotton fiber into yarn or thread quickly and easily. And it was able to spin 96 strands of yarn all at once. And so that was a key as well. So now why it was one of similar machines installed in mills in Derbyshire and Lancaster and powered by water wheels, so they were called water frames. That's why they're called water frames, powered by water wheels. It is the only complete machine of its kind in the world. His machines did not need skilled operators, and it was really the earliest example where workers had to keep pace with the speed of the machines. So Richard Arkwright's water frame. So you put that together with Hargreaves, very, very key to the textile cotton industry. And as a result, in 1790, what you had happening was cotton was producing like crazy as a result of these inventions. So that was very, very key and foundational as part of the inventions, I guess you could say, to start off the Industrial Revolution. Okay, so now let's go back to other inventions here. Okay, I want to bring these to you very quickly in a very good format. Let me show you this little picture. Anybody know what that is? It's a telegram machine. Okay, so a telegram machine came on the scene in 1836 by a man named Samuel F.B. Morse. And that's why you hear Morse code, right? Anybody ever heard of that? Morse code, Morse code. Yeah, there's a certain way that you had to push the buttons on that to get a certain message across. So it's called Morse code. So the telegram was very key because it revolutionized the media and communication part of things. And it's the first rolling machine that came into place that was able to, so people could actually talk to people on people on the East Coast could talk to the people on the West Coast, and almost the same time as something was happening. So it was almost like it was pretty instant communication, and it was just the beginning of communication actually. So that was the telegram in 1836. Okay. As a result of Samuel F.B. Morse. Okay, so what I want to share with you next is another popular machine. How many people here like to sew? Sew. Okay, yeah, I don't like to sew, but how many people here have ever used a machine to sew? Sewing machine, yeah, awesome. How many people here like that? So the sewing machine came along. Here's a picture. There's a sewing machine right there. So it came along, and let me just read you quickly about that. Elias Howe created it in 1844. This forever changed the way clothes were made and allowed the mass production of clothing. And later on, it was improved upon and patented by Isaac Singer in 1855. And I'm sure a lot of you out there, how many have heard of a Singer machine? Yeah, I think there was even one in my household when I was younger. So that is why a lot of machines had that name on it, Singer, in terms of a sewing machine. Anyway, how many people here want to hear about more bigger inventions? Come on, how many? All right, now let's get into some really key inventions here. Okay. I got pictures. I've drawn pictures. I hope you like them. Ring, ring, ring. Telephone, yeah. 1876, a man named Alexander Graham Bell, who was, at the time, a British expatriate living in America, created a phone. And it was really great instant communication because you were able to talk to somebody audibly in a different part of the world. Fantastic, right? And it's fantastic that even today I think you can pick up the phone and talk to somebody halfway across the world through it. What an awesome invention. And so he came up with that, continued development of media and communication with that key invention of the phone. And yeah, it greatly improved communication from people across the world as a result of Alexander Graham Bell. This is your captain speaking. We have been cleared for takeoff. So please do up your seatbelt until we are up in the air. 1903, the invention of the airplane. Yeah. Anybody know who? Two brothers. Okay, two brothers by the names of Orville and Wilbur Wright developed the airplane and completed the first successful airplane flight ever. Okay, so that was in 1903 as a result of the Wright brothers. And now today, obviously, we look at the airplane industry and it's huge. Again, you can go from one point of the world to another because of the airplane. And they're big airplanes now, right? Boeing 767s and that kind of a thing. So it all started with a little mind of two people and a little plane by the Wright brothers in 1903. So, yeah, let's give them a hand, the Wright brothers. Yeah, thank you, Wright brothers. Okay, moving on here. 1917. And this is washed off a little bit on my board. AM, FM. And then I got over here, vroom, vroom. Anybody know what that is? And no, it's not a funny looking animal or some platypus or something. Not a good drawing of mine, but it's a car. Yeah, car. So two key things in 1917 was radio started to be coming into the air. Radio airwaves were commencing. And we still have radio today, right? Radio stations are really key still today, AM, FM. So that was 1917, and the first car was going around in motion in 1917. Anybody know what kind of car was going around in 1917? Anybody? T. Ford. Yeah, I heard it over there. T. Ford. So 1917. We had our first car in motion, the T. Ford. Okay, so those are some of the key inventions behind the Industrial Revolution. I hope that you found those all interesting. And obviously the phone, the radio, train, planes, all thanks to the startup of the Industrial Revolution. Now, before I move on to one final thing, I want to mention about the labor force. The labor force did get better. In 1914, they came out with anti-child labor laws so that children were not taken advantage in the labor force. So that was very key because children being taken advantage of, not such a good thing, right? Not such a good thing. So they came up with those laws, and that was key because it really made the Industrial Revolution factory work much more positive, and gradually women became part of the workforce as well, which was good as well. So they weren't biased against as well. So that was very key and a good thing as well. Okay, now what I want to end up with here is one of the greatest disasters of the Industrial Revolution. Something that wasn't very good at all. And let me get this going here for you. Just bear with me for a second. Just bear with me, folks. bad, very creepy. Something bad happened as in the early 1900s. Not a very good thing happened. You could say it was kind of a nightmare. Now, anybody have any ideas what I'm talking about? Just bear with me for another second here because I think you're going to figure this out rather quickly, okay?
Jack, there's a boat. Jack. 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 There's a boat, Jack. Jack.
Okay, I think you get the picture from that. This happened in the early 1900s. Titanic. Okay, so Titanic was a huge ship that was built over in Europe, in England, and it took its maiden voyage in the spring of 1912. Yes. Big, huge boat. Lots and lots of iron and steel went into the boat. And when it was built, it was deemed unsinkable. That's what they called it. They called it a boat that couldn't sink because it was built so strong, built so wisely, built so carefully. And now, this is based on the 1997 gross-making movie Titanic. It was in the theaters. I think almost everybody saw it. It made millions of dollars. So this is a book from it. I'm going to share a little bit from it for you, okay, as I close out our lesson today. So what happened was Titanic was built with 24 boilers feeding the twin 4-story tall reciprocating vessel. Reciprocating engines, I should say. A third engine, a steam turbine, allowed for a combined speed in excess of 22 knots or approximately 25 miles per hour. The boast of being unsinkable stemmed from the ship's 16 watertight compartments and 12 watertight doors. If flooding were to occur, the watertight doors could be shut automatically or from the bridge, isolating the affected compartments from the rest of the ship. Any two of these compartments or the first four could be breached and the ship would stay afloat indefinitely. And many find this hard to believe, but the Titanic actually had more lifeboats than was required by law, even though there were not enough lifeboats for everyone on board. The British Board of Trade regulations were developed in the late 1800s when few vessels displaced more than 10,000 tons, and you could reasonably calculate passenger capacity using tonnage alone. No one could have anticipated ships of the Titanic's magnitude. They were complying with a law that no longer made any sense. Okay, that's the first thing I want to share with you. Now, let me flip over here. And this is called Save One Life. Okay, and it's pretty strong, so just bear with me. I'm just a little bit of a warning. It's kind of strong, but the Titanic was a very huge tragedy that happened that probably could have been avoided. Some jump, some fall, each dotting the water's surface like the period at the end of a sentence. Then the stern slips under the water, plunging everyone into a coldness so intense it is indistinguishable from fire. 10 minutes, 20 minutes. The wail of 1,500 souls slowly fades to individual cries from the darkness. We know you can hear us. Save one life. 700 survivors stand by in lifeboats built for 1,200, afraid to act for fear of getting swamped. They tell themselves that the voices from the water do not belong to their husbands or their loved ones. They are merely the cries of the damned. In all reality, I think they believe that the people in the lifeboats would row back and rescue them. And let me just explain some facts here to you about the Titanic quickly. There were 2,224 people in total on board on the Titanic when it hit. What happened was, if any of you don't know, if you've been living in the Stone Age and don't know what happened to the Titanic, on April 15th, 1912, at approximately 11:40 in the evening, it struck an iceberg off the coast of Newfoundland. The iceberg didn't hit it straight on, it hit it on its side, so it opened up a lot of holes in the side of the ship, too many for the great watertight compartments to hold, and so it was too much. Approximately 2 hours, 40 minutes later, the ship sank completely into the waters of the North Atlantic Ocean and hit the bottom of the sea. 1985, they did find a wreckage of the Titanic off the coast of Newfoundland, and they've gone under there several times now, different explorations and the people. Pictures are kind of interesting, I find. But the ship is slowly disintegrating. They say actually by the year 2025 it could just be nothing down there because bacteria and ocean life are slowly eating away at it. But anyway, that many people in total on board. 705 survivors reached Carpathia, which was a ship that came by about 2 hours after it sunk and found survivors in the lifeboats and rescued them, took them aboard. But really, a senseless tragedy. Senseless. Lifeboats going down not even close to maximum capacity. The lifeboat number regulations were not changing with the times. And lifeboats could only hold 1,178 people, and there was more than that on board. So it was not keeping up with the times and the changing of bigger boats. And here you got a ship going full speed ahead with iceberg warnings in their hands as well when it hit the iceberg. So really senseless tragedy, a very, very sad tragedy. And what happened was, of course, it hit the iceberg, it went down, and the biggest factor of it, most people had life jackets on, and it wasn't the people that died did not drown. It was a fact that they froze to death because they were going into water that was approximately minus 2 degrees Celsius, 28 Fahrenheit, which only takes 15 to 30 minutes for the body to completely shut down in that kind of cold temperatures. 15 to 30 minutes and you get hypothermia and your body shuts down. Let me share you a little bit about that with you, okay, briefly. At a certain point, your shivering will stop and all of the blood will concentrate in your most vital organs. It's actually supposedly a very peaceful feeling, but that's what happened to most of the people. They froze to death in those cold Atlantic waters. As I said, they did rescue some people from the ocean in the lifeboats, but not nearly enough. This is something I just learned recently as well. Many bodies over the next few days were retrieved out of the water by different boats. And these were bodies that were still floating in the water, and they were frozen, as I said. So they found quite a few bodies. It wasn't like the bodies went down to the bottom of the ocean, but they froze to death. So kind of interesting with the fact of what they retrieved over the next few days. And here's something for you. Here's something to ponder, an interesting fact. They're actually making a Titanic 2. And it's set to set sail, I think, sometime next year or maybe early 2018. So, very, very interesting. Anybody here want to ride the Titanic 2? I don't think I'd be jumping on that one. But yeah, interesting that they're making a ship, Titanic 2, set to sail in the near future. So, that ends our Industrial Revolution with something kind of tragic that happened as a result of it. And so I wanted to share that with you. So anyway, that's our lesson for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, we're going to dive into one of the greatest times in human history. We're going to dive into something that pretty much affects the whole world. And it was a very, very major event. So major that we're going to take 3 weeks to look at it, okay? So, beginning with next week. So, I'm not going to tell you what it is. See if you can guess. See if you can guess. Leave comments under my video, maybe. Guess what the next topic is. But when we come back next week, we're going to take a look at that. So, this has been your professor. And I'm signing off now. I'll see you next week. Until next week, take care.